Welcome to the 24th election in American history.
It was held on Tuesday, November 2nd, 1880, and the presidency of Buckeye President Hayes had recently begun. After Hayes' inauguration in March, the Republicans soon followed with their end of the deal and withdrew troops from the former Confederate states. Meanwhile, in the midst of this major economic depression, the Great Railroad Strike of 1877 occurred. The protest happened after workers' wages got cut. The protest would spread mostly through the Midwest. It would last almost 69 days, leaving millions worth of property damage, with 100 people killed, and would shock the nation. It would only stop after President Hayes and the government stepped in, calling in the army. Meanwhile, another riot happened in San Francisco, but occurred due to the white workers disliking Chinese immigrants, who they thought were taking away their jobs. Many would suffer, and this anti-Chinese sentiment would soon spread nationwide. There was also the Bland-Ellison Act. It required the Treasury to buy and circulate silver in order to try to improve the economy, and this would be a major win for silver rights. There was also the Army Appropriations Bill of 1879, in which Democrats attached a bill that banned the use of federal troops at voting polls.
There was also Hayes' arbitration for Paraguay. Paraguay had territorial disputes with its neighbors, which had led to a major war which had ended not long ago. The War of the Triple Alliance was the bloodiest war in South American history, and everyone ganged up against Paraguay. But before Brazil and Argentina outright annexed Paraguay, they asked for foreign arbitration, and Hayes stepped in, telling them to leave Paraguay as a buffer state. And with this action, Hayes single-handedly saved Paraguay. He would become a hero in this nation and even had a province named after him. For the election, Republicans held their longest ever national convention in Chicago. The party was split between the Stalwarts, who were in favor of corrupt political machines. This was the spoil system, aka putting your friends and supporters into powerful positions. This tactic was implemented during the presidency of Andrew Jackson. On the other hand, half-breeds favored anti-corruption reforms and for the jobs to be given only due to merit. The Republicans' nominees for president were former President Ulysses S. Grant, who wanted to run for an unprecedented third term. Other nominees were former Speaker and Senator from Maine, James G. Blaine. There was also Ohio Senator John Sherman, younger brother of General William Tecumseh Sherman. For Vice President, the main nominee was stalwart New York Party Chairman Chester Arthur. In the end, in a surprise, Arthur became the running mate to James Garfield, an intellectual who was a half-breed and a Civil War veteran. This happened after Grant narrowly lost the nomination and passed the baton to Garfield. The reason why Hayes did not run was because he had promised not to run for re-election in 1876. Meanwhile, Democrats held their convention in Cincinnati. Their nominees for president was experienced Union General Winfield Hancock from Pennsylvania and Delaware Senator Thomas Bayard, fighting to run for president. While for vice president, the main nominee was William English, a successful businessman from the swing state of Indiana. At last, Hancock and English became the Democrats' nominees for the election of 1880, while for the Greenback Party, they nominated Iowa Representative James Weaver for president, with Confederate veteran from Texas Barzillai Chambers as his running mate. Garfield campaigned on his Union Civil War experience, reminding voters that Democrats had helped cause the secession, while Democrats reminded people of the Republican corruption in the Grant administration. But oddly enough, all parties took the same position on Chinese immigration, which was to put more restrictions. And the winner was James Garfield won, becoming the 20th president in American history. Garfield won with 214 electoral votes, with only 48.32% of the vote, with a minuscule margin of 1,898 votes separating them. And Chester Arthur became the 20th vice president in American history, and Winfield Hancock got 155 electoral votes with 48.21% of the vote, while Greenbacks and Weaver got a surprising 3.35% of the vote. This election is forgotten, even though it has the smallest popular vote victory ever, but in the end, Garfield would win the Electoral College decisively. In the Senate, Democrats won, winning only 37 out of the 76 seats, 2 below the majority majority threshold. For the House, the Republicans won here, winning 146 seats, one below the majority threshold. Warren Kiefer, a Northern Republican from Ohio, became the 30th Speaker of the House. Garfield took his oath of office on Friday, March 4th, 1881, in the Capitol. Garfield charismatically would show his support for better rights for African Americans, and Hayes gladly attended the inauguration of his successor. The economy would start to improve more after the years of economic depression, and thus the 24th election in American history came to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next video.